Welcome back. In this lecture 5, I will discuss about polymer molecular weights and also give a bird's eye view of polymer science and technology, and also give few examples of common polymers. Let us begin with molecular weights of polymers. Just a thing about molecular weight. The molecular weight also simultaneously used as molar mass, whereas we generally do not give any unit for molecular weight, but for molar mass are generally expressed as gram per mole. Molar mass is probably the more accurate way of expressing molecular weights of any compound, including polymers. But in generally polymers are expressed as molecular weight without any unit. Polymer molecular weights are very large, typically in the range of few thousands to a million. Now, unlike conventional chemicals, the molecular weights of polymer in a particular sample are different. For example, if I take a benzene bottle, all the molecules of benzene in that particular bottle is same. But if I take a polystyrene bottle, then the molecular weights of the chains of polystyrene molecules are not same. All of the polymer molecules present in that particular bottle are not same, they are not uniform, and we call that sample as a polydispersed sample. Now, because of this non-uniformity of molecular weights in a particular sample, we generally expressed polymer samples molecular weight as a average molecular weight, and we can do averaging in various ways, and depending upon the way we are doing the averaging, the name changes. So, the numerical value assigned to the molecular weight of polymer depends on the way in which this non-uniformity is averaged, and these are the typical 4 average molecular weights are reported in the literature, of which this number average molecular weight and weight average molecular weights are most important and most frequently reported in the literature. Now, as almost every synthetic polymers are polydispersed in nature, there is some exception in case of natural polymers like proteins, where in a protein sample all the polymer chains or macromolecular chains are having same molecular weight. Now, what is the importance of polymer molecular weight? Why should we bother about molecular weights of polymer? Now, for any application we always look for good properties, and there is no exception for polymer based products. So, the polymer based product must have good properties, and good properties in most cases comes from the high molecular weight of polymer molecules. So, if you just for example plot mechanical properties versus polymer molecular weight, we see that there is a sharp increase in the mechanical properties with molecular weight, and it levels off at high molecular weight. Simultaneously, to make the product, the polymer samples should undergo a processing step in which we basically make the final product, and polymer flow is a very important property there, because polymers are generally melted and give a particular shape of the final product. So, good processability is generally favored by low molecular weight. So, ease of processing is actually inversely related to molecular weight. Higher is the molecular weight, lower is the ease of processing. So, this is a dilemma for a design engineer or polymer engineer there is a dilemma which whether to make or synthesize a polymer of high molecular weight or polymer of low molecular weight. So, depending upon the final application, depending upon the property requirement, plastics market actually contain different grades of each polymer, and different grades actually most cases have different molecular weight of polymer chains. So, depending upon the final application, one can choose between these different grades and finally get the product from this polymer sample. Of course, there are few properties like refractive index and hardness at ambient temperature, they do not significantly dependent on the molecular weights of polymers. Now, how to quantify or give expression for this sample these different molecular weights? For example, number average molecular weight is just the arithmetic averaging. So, Mn is given by total mass by total moles, or W by N. W is the total mass by total number of moles. So, we can write as a summation of Wi summation of Ni, where Wi is the weight of the sample having molecular weight of Mi, and similarly Ni is the number of moles of polymer molecules having molecular weight of Mi. So, we can express in terms of Ni, Mi divided by Ni, and we can just put this to get Xi Mi, where Xi is the mole fraction of the polymer molecules having molecular weight of Mi. Now, we can also rearrange this to Ni we can write as Wi by Mi. So, we can rearrange it and just write this. So, this is the weight fraction of the particular sample divided by total weight, which will give us the weight fraction. So, this small Wi or W in a smaller case I is the weight fraction of the polymer sample having molecular weight of Mi. So, using this expression we can calculate either of these expression, we can calculate the number average molecular weight. Similarly, Mw we can write weight fraction of ith sample into molecular weight. So, Wi, this is the weight of that particular sample having molecular weight of Mi. So, these are the expressions for Mn and Mw, but we always prefer use in terms of weight fraction, because when we do a fractionation of a polymer sample, it is always better to have, or it always easy to report the different fraction in terms of weight fraction rather than number fraction or mole fraction. So, that is why these expressions are useful, and these are typically used for determining polymer molecular weight. There are two more molecular weight which we will also see. Just to recap, that Mn is we deduced in last slide that Mn is given by summation of xi mi, where xi is the mole fraction of the polymer molecules with molecular weight mi in a sample. We rearrange to get this, where Wi is the weight fraction of polymer molecule with molecular weight of mi in a sample, and weight average molecular weight was expressed as summation of Wi, which is the weight fraction, multiplied by mi. There are two more molecular weights we mentioned in just a while back, mz, which is expressed as this, and mv, which is viscosity average molecular weight, which is expressed as this expression. Again, these expressions are probably more useful because this is related to weight fraction rather than mole fraction. So, for a polymer sample, when we determine a polymer sample, we will use these expressions. In this particular expression, Ni is the number or moles of polymer molecules with molecular weight mi in a particular sample, and for any synthetic sample, all mz is always greater than mw, which is greater than mv, and which is greater than mn. Now, in a synthetic polymer or any sample, polymer sample, this is typically how the polymer chains are distributed in terms of their molecular weight. So, in number distribution, this is the number fraction or mole fraction of particular fraction with molecular weight of mi. So, if we plot this with molecular weight mi, then the curve look like this, which means that in a particular polymer sample, the lower molecular weights actually dominates by number. If you count, then in a particular sample, it is the lower molecular weights which will have more number in that particular sample. But if we talk about mass, then the distribution look like this. So, in this case we plotted weight fraction versus molecular weight of particular polymer, and in this case you can see that the in terms of mass the distribution look like this. So, the polymers having lower molecular weight, they have, and the polymers having higher molecular weight they have in low weight fraction, whether the in a particular sample the polymers with intermediate molecular weight they actually dominates in terms of weight fraction. So, we how do basically quantify this polymer distribution? Now, this is very difficult way to properly show the distribution, but generally it is shown as polydispersity index, where in modern time we express this as dispersity d cut, which is expressed as mw by mn. Earlier it used to be called as polydispersity index. So, if I have a polymer sample weight fraction and molecular weight, if I have a distribution like this, or I have a sample which have a distribution like this, then the d value for this sample, dispersity of this sample will be much higher compared to this sample. So, if this is sample A and this is sample B, so d cut of A would be lower than d cut of sample B. Now, this is a more standard way of expressing the breadth of polymer molecular weights present in a particular sample. Now, we also know the relationship between degree of polymerization with molecular weight from our earlier lectures, and it is shown as this. For this particular example of polystyrene, where this N is number of repeat unit as well as number of structure unit. So, N is degree of polymerization. So, molecular weight is given by degree of polymerization multiplied by the molecular weight of this structural unit or repeat unit, which is N multiplied by 104, which is the molecular weight of this particular unit. Now, we can also express degree of polymerization as molecular weight by m from this expression, and because molecular weights are average molecular weights. So, degree of polymerization also expressed as different average degree of polymerization. So, if you use molecular weight as number average molecular weight, then we call it number average degrees of polymerization, and if we use MW weight average molecular weight, then we call this as a weight average degrees of polymerization, and generally this is written as xn or xn bar, and this is xw or xw bar. Now, for a polymer like this, we have shown earlier that molecular weight is given by dP multiplied by average of molecular weight of the average average molecular weight of the structural unit which constituted the polymer, and or it is half of the degree of polymerization multiplied by the molecular weight of repeat unit. So, in this particular example, the repeat unit molecular weight is 192. So, the molecular weight is dP and average molecular weight of two structural units. So, degree of polymerization dP is in this case twice n multiplied by 192 by 2, twice n multiplied by 96 or n into 192. Just give a example how these molecular weight calculations are done. So, this is the example where a polystyrene sample is composed of this fraction, these weight fractions, and this is a hypothetical problem. In actual case, you actually get a continuous value of molecular weights and weight fraction, corresponding weight fraction. But in a hypothetical situation, if we fractionate sample and get this fraction which has this corresponding molecular weight, then how to calculate the molecular weights, different molecular weights for this particular sample. So, these are my data, weight fraction, and these are the corresponding molecular weights. So, to find out Mn, we need to find out this particular value, weight fraction divided by molecular weight of that particular sample or this particular fraction. So, we get this and we get the summation of this. Similarly, for MW, we need to find out this term, summation of these terms. So, we get individual terms and then sum up. Similarly, for MZ, we actually need to find out sum of this particular sum. So, we actually get the individual terms and then sum it up. So, Mn can be calculated by 1 over this term, weight fraction divided by Mi, which gives you this value. Similarly, Mw gives you this value and Mz gives you this value, and as you can see, Mz is greater than Mw greater than Mn. Now, just a point to clarify that in this case the calculation turns out this number, but in practice when you report polymer molecular weight, we do not give polymer molecular weights in such a accurate number. We generally round it off the last 2 digit with 40 or last 3 digit in hundreds, because in practice we cannot actually determine the molecular weights in this correct fashion or in this accurate fashion. Now, we will move to the big picture of polymer science and technology. We actually see or look from a top, then how the polymer chain actually looks like in different life stages. So, we will look at different life stages and transformation for polymers. The central is the polymer molecules, and how do you get this polymer sample? You get it from a natural resources. We have shown given the example of different natural polymers in the first lecture, or in most of the cases, majority cases, we get it from raw materials which are nothing but monomers. How do you get monomers? In few cases, which is very low in number, we get from renewable resources, but in majority of cases we get from petroleum resources. And the process of converting the monomers to polymers is called polymerization, and we get the polymers in solution if we are doing the polymerization in a solution, or if we are doing the polymerization without any solvent, we get it in a bulk, and we isolate the polymers in the form of powder or pellets, or sometimes in a heterogeneous form like emulsion. Now, in some applications which are not a majority application, but few applications, these polymers are used in the formulation, like they are part of the other ingredients, they are actually added with other ingredients to get the final products like say paint or some medical applications like eye drops, and there are many other adhesives. There are many other such examples where polymer is one of the ingredient than the along with the other ingredients. So, in this case we use this the polymers in this stage as a application of polymers in formulations. But in most cases, after the isolation of the polymers, we actually go through another step where we add additives like pigments or mold release or stabilizer, and this process is called processing step or compounding step. We get the intermediate products. Now, most of the large companies which make polymers like say Dow or DuPont or SABIC, they actually sell polymers in this stage. They make these intermediate products and they actually sell it. In our case, we have a Hindustan Haldia Petrochemicals also, which makes this type of polymers, and they sell it market. So, some small companies take these pellets and use it for further processing. Now, in this particular processing or compounding step, we can also get the final product if the shapes of the product are simple like sheets or films. Then in this step itself we can get the final products like sheets and film, but most cases the intermediate products are sold like this in terms of granules or powder, and then further additives are added and processing and fabrication or finishing is done to get the final product. Now, generally these are done not in a typical polymer company, but in original equipment manufacturer, and then this after use this is this goes for waste, and where the waste management has to be done properly. Now, ideally we should able to reuse or recycle the polymers product after use, and if not, then we should be able to do biodegradation. So, at current scenario, the bad name of polymers or plastics are because of this stage, because after use still use polymers are fine, they are very useful products, but after the use this is a big problem. So, current polymer research the main challenges of current polymer research is to find a proper way of handling the polymer waste, either recycling or using biodegradation procedure. There is another challenge also, which is probably lesser extent than earlier, about the source of these monomers. Most of the monomers are sourced from raw materials, petroleum sources, and as these petroleum sources are getting depleted with time. So, we should be also looking for finding out monomers from renewable resources, but because currently there are lot of applications where petroleum resources used to be used for that. Now, they are also moving, like in transport they are moving for renewable energy sources. That is the reason why petroleum sources are probably is not depleting in that faster rate than it was to be thought earlier. So, at present probably this managing the waste, polymer waste is probably more challenging and more important than generating a alternative renewable resources for monomers. The final polymer property of a products actually depend on three things. The polymer composition, means the actual chemical structure, the molecular weight, molecular distribution, stereoregularity, or if you copolymer composition. Then also processing, because processing actually gives you lot of thermal history. This also been a very important aspect of polymer properties, and also the morphology of the polymer samples, which basically determined by both composition and the processing. They actually all three actually determine the final properties of polymers. Now, I will just quickly go through the names and examples of few commonly used plastics. These are just for information purpose, and these information are available in various places. This is just for information purposes, so that somebody should be aware of different plastics or different polymers. And for example, plastics, most common plastics are commodity plastics, engineering plastics, thermosetting plastics, and some specialty plastics. Commodity plastics are those which are used in very bulk amount, for example, low density polyethylene, high density polyethylene, polypropylene, polyvinyl chloride, polystyrene, and some of their examples are listed here, their uses are listed here. Major engineering plastics, their names are listed here and their corresponding abbreviation. Engineering plastics means their application in engineering applications, structural applications, not in commodity like household common items application. They are useless in engineering application or structural applications. Major thermosetting plastics are like phenol formaldehyde, urea formaldehyde, unsaturated polyesters, epoxy, melamine formaldehyde, and their typical uses are listed here. You can read it, or this is for information purpose. Other polymers are useful as fibers and rubbers or elastomers, and some of the examples are given as cellulosic and nanocellulosic, like acetate rayon, polyesters, nylon as fibers, acrylics fiber is also there, and rubber, natural rubber, cis-isoprene synthetic rubbers are also available, and thermoplastic elastomers are also there, which are based on styrene butadiene block copolymer. Now, typically you may also come across and see that the polymer bags are actually having this label. These labels are related to different polymers and related to recycling code for the polymers as per Society of Plastic Industry, and this later corresponds to a particular polymer, like one corresponds to PET, which is recyclable, 2 corresponds to HDPE, high density polyethylene, which is also recyclable, 3 corresponds to polyvinyl chloride, which is also recyclable. Others are not, they are actually recyclable, but practically it is very difficult to do because they are generally they are used also have other ingredients. So, basically it is very hard to recycle these 4 to 7 like LDPE, polypropylene, polystyrene and other polymers. So, with this I come to the end of this lecture 5, and next lecture I will move for step growth polymers or synthesis of step polymers by step growth polymerization.